So in the last year, I've checked virtually every date in this. No other year it is going to occur. It is an impossibility. Only in 3067 BC you will find this occurring so perfectly. By the way, there are people who say, oh, Pandit is just taking few verses here and there. Or 3067 BC people, they take few verses here and there. This list continues down. It has gone off the long off the page. This is Udyoga Parva, Bhishma Parva, Drona Parva, Karna Parva, Shanti Parva, Anushasan Parva. Also verses are there. You can see it. Nearly entire Anushasan Parva verses I have put out in chapter 11. So we have taken all the verses into confidence. In fact, the 60 verses of Drona Parva, chapter 159, 161 are only taken into consideration by 3067 BC. That is important. Right. So that is as far as those two critical things are concerned. There's a third critical thing which nobody else is able to prove, which is the position of Jupiter in the war. How far, how are you doing for time? Ajay, how are we doing for time? 13:30, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we are running a little late, but it's okay. I think if people are
Yeah,
interested,
if people are happy. Now,
we
the
can
only
continue.
thing is, I don't know what happens when we finally cross that time limit. So what I will do is I will take one or two in this, then I will stop this and go for the other bit of it. You know, the showing of the Tithi Pravesh. Okay. Uh, because we started at what
So
time
what
did
should
we
we?
start? I think
We
we still
started
have
at
time.
exactly 5:30. We
Right,
started
right.
at
No, no,
5:30.
but the session would have started at whatever it was, 11:15. At
Uh,
We started 45 minutes before, so
right. Yes.
we'll have 15 minutes after that particular 2 hours is up.
Okay.
So we still have, I think, 45 minutes. I think we still have, but we'll
45
see.
minutes left.
We have time, but I'll try and finish this in 10-15 minutes, and then we can go
Okay.
for some other stuff as well. Anyway, the position of Jupiter in the war, there are, so every graha is given certain verses, okay, and they are occurring in certain chapters of this particular thing. So you're getting basically Sena Rashi Shivam Ghoram Karishyati Mahagraha Magosvangarako Vakra Shravane Cha Brihaspati. This is one particular verse, which is this is verse 13, right? And then you got Sakananaha. The last bit of the verse is more important. Brihaspati Rohinim Samprapidya Babhuva Chandrarka Samana Varna. This is from the killing of Karnavad. Such a difficult verse. It took me months on end to figure out what this is. I mean, what do you mean by Brihaspati is giving Pida to Rohini? See, the problem is that most of the Mahabharata astronomers are not astrologers. That is a problem. Of all the Mahabharata astronomers, there are only maybe two or three who are Jyotishis now. And a lot of these people have not considered all these other verses which I've just been through. So they start the war on Amavasya and all that. You know, those are mistakes, huge mistakes. And those are mistakes in the sense that their timelines don't fit anything. And 50 years plus or minus also will not fit. But how can Brihaspati therefore give Pida to Rohini Nakshatra? For all the astrologers who are around, who are listening to this, what is this? What are we talking about over here? And it took me a lot of time until I realized that there is a particular formation in the war. And that particular formation is important. And what is the meaning of this verse? Magosvangarako Vakra, Magha, Angarakaha, Mars is Vakri, is retrograde, and Brihaspati or Guru, Jupiter, is retrograde at Shravana. Now, this verse also took me months to understand because this is an impossibility from the Jyotish point of view, from astronomy point of view, scientific point of view. This verse is an impossibility unless something happens. Now, I'll show you that. So, can Mars be retrograde at Magha at the same time as Jupiter in Shravana? That is the question, astronomy question. And this is impossible because a graha, the major grahas, the slow moving grahas only go retrograde at the same at when they are 140 degrees away from the sun. Okay, they are required to be 140 degrees away from the sun. So the sun is simultaneously in the same verse. In the same verse, the sun is simultaneously near Shatabisha in Aquarius and also near Pushya in Cancer, both of which are nearly 150 plus degrees away from each other. One second, I'm just having to rescue my cat. Right. So, one second. Right. So the sun is simultaneously near Shatabisha in Aquarius and also near Pushya in Cancer. I mean, this is an impossibility in the same verse, huh? In the same verse. So then I started thinking about it a bit more. Well, so I gave it a bit of thought, and eventually I realized that if you took those two, because the first part of the verse talks about destruction to the armies, Senayo Rashi Shivam Ghoram Karishyati Mahagraha, right? And then it says Magvasangarako Vakra Shravanechar Brahaspati. If you take that into consideration, there are indeed two comets which are retrograde at Shravana and at Magha. And I have given those in my book. 65p gun is one of them, and they're beautiful paths. If you look at it in 3067 BC, you can actually see the paths of the two comets are exactly Vakragati in retrogression, perfect retrogression, and they are occurring during the war. So this and just before, so you can see it so clearly. Now the question then arises: some people may wonder, what about the magnitude of those comets? Can they be seen or not? For this, I have theorized that we Hindus, had the use of telescopes. And this is a proven fact. We can prove it. I mean, it's a theory, but this explains how they are able to see all those things. I mean, we can theorize that Vyasa had Durshravan, Durdrishti, and all that. That's all fine. But as a scientist, if I'm giving a theory, I need to, and I'm saying a comet is there, then how is it going to be visualized? So the visualization of that, I am saying, because we are having the development of crystalline lenses for burning, right, in Egypt, and that is at least 3500 BC, not much longer there before that. So we are having crystalline lenses. Therefore, I am saying that 3067 BC, which is 500 years on this side, which is definitely a possibility, is true. Number one. Number two, the Chinese astronomers and one of the kings, in fact, was using polished stones to visualize the night sky in 2260 BC, which is just 800 years, 900 years, right? So now we are getting a bit of a feel that why we are saying Hindus are doing all this, because they are actually using telescopes. They're using some sort of telescope, some sort of remote viewing device, right? So we are not just saying, oh, it was Samadhipad or something. That's fine. I mean, it's a belief, and some people have been saying that it is true, but I don't want to go into that as a scientist at the moment. I want to just keep a very clear, rational head on when I'm analyzing all this data, right? Because otherwise, I can say almost anything. That, oh, Vyasa. I mean, I can even say Sri Krishna was manipulating the planets and all that. I mean, then the my my thesis has got no meaning. I mean, I can say almost anything then.
Objectivity loses it.
Yeah, exactly. And the objectivity, what is the object of why I'm saying this? So this verse I'm excluding for that reason. Some people want to take this verse and the other verses, and they are going into a real quicksand. So I have not done that. So this verse is the one. The second verse is the one which is surviving the scrutiny. Brihaspatiim Rohinim Samprapidyam. And mind you, the other verse I already showed you, the Vishakha verse, I already showed you, they have got shikhas. So those cannot be Saturn and Jupiter. For that reason, that is my perspective. And plus, you've got two verses which are saying that Saturn, who is one of those particular grahas, is basically at Rohini. And Saturn at Rohini is a well-known disaster and doom predictor in Hinduism for, you know, for millennia, basically. So the question still arises: Can Jupiter give Pida to Rohini Nakshatra? Can Jupiter do this? Right? Right. So I'll come to that in a second. So Jupiter, by the way, is causing Pida to Rohini and not to Vrishabha Rashi, not to Taurus. That is where again people have gone wrong. The Pida to Nakshatras and the Pida to Rashis are two separate concepts, completely different. And the Pida to a Nakshatra is only given by a particular chakra. And that chakra was applied twice during the war. Once it was established by Bhishma, and once it was established by Shalya. They have used Sarvatobhadra Chakra. It's a formation. Just like you have got that formation, what was that formation in which Abhimanyu had to enter? Chakravyuha, right? Like that, you have got the Sarvatobhadra Chakra. You've got Krauncha Vyuha, you've got other Vyuhas, but Sarvatobhadra is well known. And this is what Sarvatobhadra is. And there is a way, I'll show you how to look at this very quickly in a moment when I get a bit of chance on the software which is given. The free software is allowing you to do this Sarvatobhadra Chakra also. And how it is doing it, here is Rohini Nakshatra. So this is that Rohini Nakshatra, right? And that Rohini Nakshatra basically is having a path over here. Can you see that Jupiter, where it is placed? That Jupiter is placed in Ashwini Nakshatra in 3067 BC. And from there is a clear path. Can you see these green lines? These green lines are the path where it is causing Pida. And the last nakshatra where it is the where it is causing Pida. To Jeshtha, Purva Falguni, and to Rohini. Right? And that is why this Jupiter is causing the Pida to Rohini Nakshatra. That is number one. Number two, why is it described as being bright? Jupiter is described as being bright, and some other places as being Vakra. If you look at this, you will come to realize what an amazing thing it is that this Jupiter basically is something which is just finished its retrogression. In 3067 BC, at the point when it is described by Karna on the 17th day of the war, that point Jupiter has just finished its Vakragati. That's number one. Number two now. And now the question arises, why is it causing Pida? And that took me a bit of time to realize. And why is it causing Pida? There's a reason for it. And the reason for it causing Pida is because it is in Gandanta. This Jupiter is very close to Gandanta at that point. Gandanta is basically the junction of a fire sign and a water sign, right? And it's 3 degrees on either side of that sign. And that is why, because that Jupiter is present there, therefore it's Gandanta on Gandanta Drishti, and therefore the Pida to Rohini Nakshatra. By the way, Saturn is already over there and causing Pida to Rohini, and that is already mentioned in the text, right? And by the way, why am I ignoring Bhishma 325 taken by a few researchers? Because of this verse which I already talked about earlier. Graho tam ranano shikho prajulata vubho saptarashi udharanam samavachadya vai prabham. Two grahas which have got shikhas, which are ignited, which are obscuring or penetrating the Saptarishis. Now, the question arises, how far are the Saptarishis away from the path of Jupiter and Saturn? Can Jupiter and Saturn ever obscure or penetrate the Saptarishis? It is an impossibility. It is an impossibility, right? So does this make sense, Ajay? Am I making sense over here? So if somebody says that these two are Jupiter and Saturn, according to this next verse which is following, Samvatsarasthayana cha graha prajata ubhau vishakhayo samipastho brahaspati shaneshcharo, or Jupiter and Saturn are sthai at Vishakha or near Vishakha, then the problem arises, why are these two grahas described as being Brahaspati and so Guru, Jupiter and Saturn, why are they having shikhas? And why are they penetrating the Saptarishis? How far are the Saptarishis from the position of Vishakha, if you look at it in the sky, it's magnificent distance away, huge distance away. Not only that, even if you say that the Saptarishis which are near Magha, if you say that Jupiter and Saturn are at Magha for a moment, even then they are very far away from the Saptarishis. They're really far. So how can they? And then you have got to theorize them having tails. I mean, come on, Jupiter
Yeah,
and
that's
Saturn. Then
also
people say are Brahmanas. They're having tails. I mean, now this goes into ludicrous. I mean, it becomes a bit foolish. I mean, we shouldn't do all those things, right? We have to stick to the what is being given to us, right? So,
yes.
no planet, Jupiter or Saturn, nobody can do that, no matter how bright they are, right? Only a pair of comets can do it, correct? That is the issue. So, therefore, we have taken that verse otherwise. The other way of course, I can say it is a conflicting observation from that point of view, because Saturn, who is also described as part of that verse, basically Saturn occurs in two. It's the only planet in the whole of Mahabharata to occur in two separate positions, in two separate verses, in two separate books. And the only other observation which occurs like that is that Kartika Purnima, which occurs before the war. These are the two verses which occur like that. The other one is the Magha Masa for Bhishma Moksha. So the only verse which survives the relentless scrutiny is Brahaspati Rohinim Samprabidya. Brahaspati causing Pida to Rohini. I have described why Brahaspati is causing Pida to Rohini. Why it is, because it's in Gandanta. Number one, why it is bright. I have described that because I have shown it is in retrogression. And I have shown how it is causing the Pida, because it is using Sarvatobhadra Chakra. Now the question arises, what about one of the other rival ideas, which is 5561 BC war proposal? What happens in that proposal? Does Jupiter cause Pida to Rohini Nakshatra? Let us look at it. So the position of Jupiter in 5561 BC, I am showing over here, 17th day of the war. So Jupiter is over here. Can you see Uttarashada? And can you see Rohini over here? And so there's no connection between that. This Jupiter in Uttarashada will cause Pida to Mrigashira, right? So nowhere it is occurring. Okay. And if you look at it carefully, basically, you can see from Uttarashada, if you go like this, it will cause Uttara Falguni. And if you go in this direction, it will cause Purva Bhadrapada. Can you see that? If you go from here, this square diagonally, straight, and in this manner, Uttar Falguni, Purva Bhadrapada, and Mrigashira, but not Rohini. That's the issue. So Jupiter cannot cause Pida. The causing of Pida to a nakshatra is a very, very sukshma concept. It's not causing Pida to a Rashi. Rashis have developed much later in Indian astronomy and even in the world astronomy. So we are not talking about Rashis over here, which is the other mistake. A lot of other researchers have taken Jupiter to cause Pida to Vrishabh Rashi, which is wrong. That there is no question about it. So this chakra has to be applied. That is the whole issue. There are very few chakras giving this Brahaspati Rohini in Samprapidya. Now I have described Jupiter. I'm going for Saturn. Now these are the two verses of Saturn which are so perfect, right? And then there are two other verses. One of them is a very weak verse, and but could still fit 3067 BC. This verse I have already excluded, right? So what are the verses? Prajavatyam hi nakshatram grahastikshno mahadvati shaneshchara pidayati pidayan pranenodikam, which is Udyoga Parva 141. Then Rohinim Pida in Nesham Sthito Rajan Shaneshchara Vyavrata Lakshma Somasya Bhavishyati Mahatbhayam. Bhishma 223. Udyoga Parva 141. This is Karna's observation, 141.7. This is Bhishma 232, which is just after the Arundhati Vashishta observation. And that particular observation is a different observation, which is being put over here, which is, what do you call it? It is an observation of Saturn at Aldebaran or at Rohini Nakshatra. So can we prove? So two verses are denoting clearly that Prajapatyam Nakshatram is basically Rohini Nakshatra. The nakshatra ruled by Prajapati. Grahas Tikshno Mahadyati. There's a star, there's a graha which is over there. Shaneshchara Pidayati. Again, it is causing Pida, right? And then Rohinim Pida Nesham Sthito Rajan Shaneshchara. It is saying Sthita. Can you see the word Sthita? It is saying I'm stationed over there. Sthito Rajan Shaneshchara. Okay. Happy so far, right? So these two verses are important, and I'm just going to show, just for the matter of for those people who have not yet seen, Saturn about to pierce Rohini in July 1942, Battle of Stalingrad, 1942 August. Saturn is at Rohini. Can you see over here clearly? Can you see this particular?
Yes, sir.
Can you
Yes,
see
sir.
this beautiful, amazing thing from Redshift? This is. But this is a, and then why are we saying that is, you can see in over here, Brihat Samhita is giving very clearly that a lunar mansion or a nakshatra, when occupied by Sun or Saturn, or when Mars cutting through it or retrograding through it, hit by a meteor, then we are talking about it being in Pida. So that is the issue now. So that is where this Saturn is causing Pida to Rohini Nakshatra. It is piercing that thing. That is July 1942. You can see the Battle of Stalingrad was just a month later. And this is not an unknown configuration, as I've said numerous times before, those people following on Twitter. World War II, Bangladesh genocide, 9/11, and I've given up to, I think, 1500 or something. I've given the various times Saturn has come to Aldebaran. Next time Saturn comes to Aldebaran, so the last time it happened was 9/11. The next time it is happening in 2030, 2031, right? This is important. So basically, I'm excluding those two verses from my thing. I'm giving separate cometary positions for those two verses. So this comet Blandplane and comet Soho, which I'm saying are these Graho Prajwalito Vibhav, two grahas which have got shikhas and which are near Vishaka. And at the same time, I'm saying Saturn must be at Rohini because these two are very important. Okay. So I'm showing that in my particular thing. And position of Mars. Okay. Anyway, I think I will stop over here, because I think for an introduction, this is a very heavy introduction it would have become, because there's still Bhishma Moksha and there are hundreds of other things which I can take. So what I will do is I will stop the screen share over there, right? And what I will do is now I'm going to take it to this Jehora, okay? Because that is what a lot of people are here for. So shouldn't disappoint people. Right. So I think I've shown already how to do this. So what you do basically, let me just go again and open a new chart. Right. So this is what Jehora looks like, right? And this is for basically for those people who want to calculate a good time for themselves, when to do sadhana or when to have some, to create a benefic effect for themselves in life. Because I'm one of those people who firmly believes that you have some free will. You may not have enough free will to change your destiny. You may or may not have enough free will to change your destiny, but you have enough free will to at least do some sort of sadhana for yourselves, that you are able to help yourselves. It could be any sadhana you like. You may want to recite some sort of kavachapat. You may want to recite Sahasranam. Vishnu Sahasranam is one of the most popular Sahasranams which is around. You may want to recite other things. You may want to recite some, stotra. You may want to do homa. You may want to do japa. You may want to do other things. And the way I decide it, so what I do, if anybody wants to give me their date, time, and place of birth. So Ajay?
Yeah. So I think I was born at 1:32 p.m. in the afternoon on November 16th, 1996.
1:32 in the afternoon and November 16th.
Yes.
1996.
1996.
1996, yeah.
And I was born in Bantwad. It's a small town in south of India.
Okay, but nearest place to it, let us say for brevity in this particular case.
Mangalore city. M.
Mangalore.
Yes, Mangalore.
Oh yes, I've got some very good friends in Mangalore actually. So far, I've not talked about it. Very close friends. Interesting anyway. So November 16th, 1996, 1332, Mangalore. Okay, are we happy with that, right? And can you see over here, this is Gregorian calendar. So for our purposes, we are using Gregorian calendar. But pull down menu will give you Julian. And that Julian calendar is what you use for Mahabharata. And when you use it for Mahabharata, this year over here, which we'll explore one or two cases of that, you will say for 3067 BC, you will basically minus 1 year and put a minus sign. So minus 3066. Or for 5561 BC, you will minus 1 year and put a minus, which is minus 5560. Okay. That is how you basically calculate it. So I'm now going to say, okay. And can you see November 16, 1996, 1332, Mangalore, India. It is born on a Shukla Shashti. Can you see that? Happy? On Shukla Shashti, can you see 38.24% is left? Are we happy with that? Right? And so now, if you look at it, Saturday, Uttarashada. Can you see over here? Right? Saturday and Uttarashada. Right? So you're born on Uttarashada Nakshatra. It's the Shukla Shashti, and all these parameters are there. Now, how do you decide how to calculate this thing for every month or every year? So first I'll go for every year. And what you want to do, can you see these buttons over here? There's chakras. If you go to chakras, it will show you in one of the chakras over here, Sarvatobhadra. Can you see that? Right? Like that, if you go to Tithi Pravesh, right? And in Tithi Pravesh, what you do, you go to the 2020. And can you see that November 2020, yesterday, at 12:25, was Shukla Shashti 38.24% left. And that was a very good time for you to do some sort of sadhana. And the way to decide that is whatever time you get on there, 12:25, 24 minutes before and after, which is a muhurta. So you recite your Sahasranam, whatever it is, and best one to do for birthdays, annual birthdays, is give away rice, for example, or something. You can give it to poor people or to Ved Pathshalas, whatever is your, whatever is your intention, like that, you can do it. So this is a beautiful way of helping yourself in your life, because this is your birthday. Effectively, this is your birthday according to the tithi, right? This is not birthday according to the normal birthday what we are taking. And on that particular tithi day, I always advise people that day is a useful day. That time especially is very, very useful for you not to do stupid things. Because your mind is obviously, and then, your mind goes into all sorts of odd things on the at those points of time. So on those times, just, you can do some, just sit in reflection if you can't do anything else. But best is you give things away at that particular point, or you help people at that point. Is very useful, right, to you in life in general. I'll go back to natal chart 1 second. So I've done that. Can you see again it changes, right? And now I'm going to come back to Tithi Pravesh for the monthly chart. So here you can see for monthly, fortnightly, and daily also is there, but don't go for daily and fortnightly, go for monthly. Okay. So monthly, you can actually look at it, this particular chart, you can look at it for, let us say for next month, if you want to look at it. So you can click after and you can go there. Can you see it brings up now December 20th? So December 20th at 5:22 in the morning. So 24 minutes before that and 24 minutes after that. Some people just take 10 minutes before and after. When it's that early in the morning, I mean, I always advocate doing a homa at that time in the morning. And for this particular nakshatra Uttarashada, I always say Ganapati is one of the wonderful things to worship. So you can do some Ganapati Homa, or you can do Ganapati Stotra, or you can do Ganapati Japa, or whatever it is you want to wish to do. There's also Ganesh Sahasranam, which is slightly more complicated. It's more difficult to do, which many decades ago I used to do those sort of things. So can you see that? Okay, happy with that? So
Yes.
now you know how to do it. You have gone here to file. You're going to edit birth data. In birth data, you put your date, time. You put the place, click on rest of the world or search in USA, and look at the available options. Click OK. You clicked OK. You come up with that chart. It actually comes up with this normally. When you come up with this, now you will go to Tithi Pravesha. And in Tithi Pravesha, you will basically go for what part of that Tithi it is, November 2020, 12/25, whatever it is, that it will show you. If you want to find it out for every month, you can actually find it out for every month. You can find it out for every particular month, first, second, third, like that. Can you see this? This is a very useful concept. And you can find it out like that for every month. So for example, over here, if you go over here, this will give you December 2020 at 5:22. So this gives you a time for when you can do sadhana, or when you can help yourself. Basically, you help yourself to get better, right? And at that time, whatever you do, you must not do activities which are harmful to yourself, right? That's very important. And so this is the sort of thing. Okay, are we happy with this so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now anybody, I'll stop the screen share, I think, for a moment. I mean, in this, it will give you lots of things like dashas and all those sort of things. I'll stop the screen share for a second. And about Homa. Okay, so somebody has asked about Homa. Is it necessary we do it every day, or can we do it weekly? Please look, this is how it is. I used to be evangelical about doing Homa. I used to do it for hours every day, and it is a very addictive practice, extremely addictive practice for people. Whoever does it knows exactly what I'm talking about. And the key thing, 2-3 key things with that, which I'd like to point out. One is that it is useful to have a bit of mud at the bottom of that Homakunda. Some clean mud. You can find some clean mud in gardening shops. Normally, you will find it. That you can have, or some people put the gobar lep. That is what they used to advocate on the normal Homakunda. That is what some people do. You can have the cakes, basically of organic gobar, which burns in a very different way. You can have those at the bottom, because that is the earth tattva. So the earth tattva is very important. You have the earth tattva at the bottom, the Homakunda, which is not quite the same as having copper. Although copper is not bad, but you'll find for yourself. I mean, the differences when you're actually doing this. Just 1 second, I need to rescue my other cat. So yeah, 1 second. There we go. So, so these are two things. The other thing is, I like to perform it outdoors. If you're going to do it outdoors. The fourth thing is, I have experimented with a lot of procedures for years. And how it is, I'll tell you. I have experimented with japa and stotras and all that for nearly a decade. Before I started doing Homa properly, this is what I used to do. This was my daily practice, and I have done it for hours altogether. And sometimes it would give me results, and most times, I mean, it's all hit and miss. In any case, remedies are a bit of hit and miss anyway. So that is a different matter. But one thing is there, that when one is doing a Homa, the energy which is there in that fire and it is described as Mahavedya. So that basically helps the person, whoever is in mental pain, who is in distress, in some sort of deep sort of, they feel bad or whatever it is. I have seen those people really benefiting from those processes. So that is one of my main things why I tell people to do those processes. It's easy for them to do it. It's not difficult. There is another thing which I'd like to point out for those people who have mental disorders. In mental disorders, there is one particular thing which is called as progression. In your mind, you're having a progression. So if you look at, for example, how you do daily tasks, you do a daily task morning. Suppose you start doing something, you need to follow a particular sequence of events. That sequence of events in your head, how to do it, and its motivation and initiation and completion are all disturbed in mental illnesses, right? So for example, if you open a computer and you put on the so you have to switch it on, then you have to enter the password, then you have to bring out a program, then from the program you're going to decide what to do, and so on and so forth, right? This is a sequence of events. This sequence is disturbed in certain mental illnesses. Well, in nearly all of them, the initiative is completely disturbed and the completion may be disturbed, but the progression of these things is very badly hurt. It's like a mental block in between each of these things, right? That is one thing. The other thing is, some people may feel that like in schizophrenia, you get first rank symptoms where you feel something is speaking to you from outside, right? And these very unfortunate things, because the aura of that person is broken. So I have basically experimented, as I said, for years, and I have seen people with those sort of problems improve quite dramatically during the day. When they're doing that, they improve um, almost to a point where you think, how is this even possible? But the problem is, to get them to do it may be very difficult. So this is one of the reasonings which I want to give. Plus, there are hundreds of cases I've seen in the last few months also, who have really improved when they do Homa, right? For whatever reason, I mean, the reasoning, there are hundreds of reasons and theoretical reasons, but I am a very practical person. If something is helping people, that then I know, and it has helped me. I mean, whatever I am today, especially in the days when I was trying to have achievements in my life, those achievements with Homa were almost on a unbelievable level. And including with my father, my late father, who after the death of my mother, was was devastated. For months on end, he used to just for years, in fact, he used to just sit and do nothing, and he had stopped giving out medicines and all that, and he improved very dramatically with Homa. Dramatically. It was like I mean, I had to push him and push him to do it, because he would barely light a lamp and do an arti. That's and do a bit of Hanuman Chalisa. That was his routine. And none of those things really helped him, apart from when he started Homa. And then he went back with a bang and started helping others, and everything is like dramatic, dramatic. It was impossible. It took him around 4 months. For those people who keep saying, well, some person died or something when they've done started a Homa or something, this is all nonsense. Life and death is not in your hands. Life and death is not in your hands. Death is predetermined. If you're doing Homa and all that, then you must believe this. That death is outside your hands. You may have all sorts of fantasies about how you are going to cheat death, or how you're going to stop death, and all this, all nonsense. When the time is up, the time is up, and that's it. पुरुष का घमंड और स्त्री की सुंदरता दोनों ही स्मशान में जल रहे हैं. There's no question about it. So one must be on ground zero, totally low on the ground. So whatever I'm describing, I'm telling. And for those people who want siddhis and all, again, I want to emphasize, you please follow 1,25,000 done 3 times done, 3 times the whole thing. So 9 times you do that, then do that whole process 3 times. And if at the end of it, if you find somebody who can actually fly, please show me. If you actually find somebody who's actually flying on the ground, please show me. I want to see that person. I really want to. I mean, I'm not belittling any person who is saying they've got siddhis or anything like that. But I'm telling you very clearly, last person to demonstrate something of this sort was Datia Swami, and that was he was God. Very few people actually now, I would say, can do those sadhanas of that caliber for that amount of time. Kurtalam Swami also, I think, a long time ago, used to be able to demonstrate few things. Nowadays, I don't think you'll find anybody like that. If you do, I mean, please, you're more than welcome to do. I mean, I've done all those things, so I know exactly what the हालत क्या खराब हो जाती है हो सकती है इन चीजों में भी, because you are burning karmas, at the end of the day. And so Homa is, to me, is a nice, safe sadhana. And a lot of people do japa after Homa. They're not able to do japa before. They're doing japa after. That is also interesting. So anyway, yeah. Can Homa be performed in puja? Yes. No, I mean, this is, look, so that is the other question. Can Homa be performed in puja room or home? Yes, absolutely, Dipti. It can be performed in puja room and home. I have done it like that only. But your only problem is, so in my old house in Manchester, I used to do that every day. And the entire house would gather soot. And it is not good for you in an enclosed space. Primarily, the main problem is, I always emphasize that long homas, especially one should not do in enclosed spaces, because it's smoke. The smoke accumulates and you're breathing in smoke. I mean, don't do that. You can sit in the balcony. You can have bricks around your homa kunda, but you must make sure you follow procedure and you do it for a period of time. Any sadhana has to be done for a period of time for it to start giving results. And doing sadhana, so you can, once you start, I've seen a lot of people, they do start off with homa, and they've barely lit a lamp before that. Then they become good at homa. Some of them actually get fantastic experiences also. Then after a while, they start going after the, so japa, then dasha, 1 lakh or 2 lakh, 3 lakh, then numerous people like that, which is also good. Excellent. I mean, at least it is helping somebody. Namalwar. The next question is that the traditional date of Kali Yuga based on this thing is 3102 BC. No, now wait. So, did Kali Yuga start 35 years before the war? No, it did not. How do we know that? So, let me go back to my Mahabharata screen. So, I don't know whether I have got it over here, but Shivan should be having a slide for that. It is there in the first chapter of my book. Basically, there are 17 references which say that Kali Yuga has already started at the time of the Mahabharata war. I mean, so this is a presentation which goes on and on, as you can see over here. There we are. So I'm giving you one of those slides. When Bhimsen injures Duryodhan mortally on his thighs, Balrama and Krishna have a dialogue. And Krishna says Kali Yuga has already arrived. And look at that shloka. Praptam Kali Yugam vidhi pratidnyam pandavasya cha Anranyam yatu vairasya pratignyayascha pandavaha. This is verse 21. So any attempt at dating of the Mahabharata must not ignore this verse on Kali Yuga. 3067 BC passes this particular test. Okay, this is very important. Okay, so it's very clear that Kali Yuga has already started at the time of the Mahabharata war. That particular thing which is being pointed out. Let me just come to that. So let me just stop that screen share for a second. So that particular thing, the traditional date of and Namalwar. Now Namalwar, if you go to, I mean, I can take it in the next workshop, or you can see it in my, I think it's on my Sattology workshop, basically, where I've shown exactly the Namalwar correlate and how that can never ever be 3102 BC. This 3102 BC thing is coming from the Harivamsha and from the other Puranas. But in the Mahabharata, nowhere it says that Krishna is going at Kali Yuga. This is a belief, right? And one of the traditions, one of the holdings of this belief is that how can basically Sri Krishna, not go like that? So how can Kali Yuga be still there when Krishna is there? That is the problem with the belief holders. And the thing comes from, there's a verse in Vishnu Purana also, but there is also another thought which is quite logical, which says that Sri Krishna is there, that is why the power of Kali Yuga is diminished. So until he is there, the power of Kali Yuga is diminished. Then afterwards, then after he goes, then Kali Yuga comes in force, right? So I hope that answers that question. And then Miraji is asking, how do we choose our deity for japa? Now that is difficult. You have to approach professional astrologers. I think Pandit Katti, I don't know whether he's here, but there is Pandit Katti is there. There is Rocky Jambal, and of course Astro Amigo. All three are very good. And Utpalji is also there. Utpal Pathak, I don't know whether you know him. Very good astrologer, wonderful chap. So please ask those people. I mean, that is difficult. And yeah, Shivansh has shown some of the other stuff over there. How do you conclude to the specific? Very good. So Bhargavi ji, that's an excellent question. How do you conclude to the specific year? So the triangulation, if you go to my book on Mahabharata, I don't know whether Shivansh can give the link for that book. It's a free book. It's been nominated for the Lakatos Award now. That particular book I have given basically that Saturn's position at Aldebaran, Jupiter's position basically giving Pida to Rohini, and Mars position at just before Jyeshtha, Anuradha. Those are the three criteria from which you can actually get a triangulation. There are other triangulations which you can do. There are other triangulations. Some people have taken some other triangulations also. And the one of the most important things is whether any of those criteria which I have mentioned earlier, whether they are actually fitting with the year of the war. I would advise you all to go through any date you like. I have debunked a lot of them in the past year, including some very absurd dates. But I have debunked a lot of them. From start to end, you can debunk it. You can see it for yourself whether each and everything has to satisfy. Virtually everything you have to satisfy, which is very difficult, including Bhishma Moksha, which by the way is one of the most difficult ones to actually satisfy. And let me just I don't know whether we have 5 minutes, but I'll just bring it up. So Bhishma Moksha. So Bhishma Moksha is over here. So here is one of the verses. So I want to just show you this verse. Maghoyam samanuprapto masa punya yudhishthira tribhaga shesha pakshoyam shuklo bahitur marhati. Please note, it is Maghamas. Can you see this Maghamas over here? And the other one, there is another verse which is also saying Maghamas. But the point is all saying Maghamas. That's one. The other thing is that there is a verse which is ignored by most of the Mahabharata astronomers, which is Saniryo Gajapura Dhyajake Parivaritaha Drishtva Nivrittam Adityam Pravrittam Chottarayanam. So this is saying that Yudhishthir left the Gajapura, which is basically Hastinapura, with all the Purohitas, Yajake Parivaritaha, Drishtva, he observed Nivrittam Adityam. Nivritta Adityam means what? The sun has left Dakshinayana. And Pravrittam Chottarayanam, sun joined Uttarayana. So Yudhishthira leaves Hastinapur after observing Uttarayana. Now, this is something which the people in Australia, scientists in Australia, scientists in UK, scientists in America have been doing for decades altogether. Observing when Uttarayan starts. Did you know that solstice comes from a verse which means sol sistera? Sol sistera, solstice, winter solstice. Sun stops still for 3 days. Sol sistera, it's a Latin word, well known. So how many days? For 3 days. And so it is not that the sun doesn't move. Sun's obviously, from our position over here on Earth, geocentric. We are, although it may not be seen to move, but it is moving. But we are not seeing it to move. And how long does it not move? Is 3 days. Only on the 4th day it moves after winter solstice. That movement is what is being described by Yudhishthira in this verse over here, in verse 6 of Anushasan Parva. I've given you the chapter over there, 153. Sa niryo Gajapura Adyajike Parivarta Drishtva, he saw it. Drishtva nivrittam adityam pravrittam chottarayanam. And that same thing happens in, I think it's verse 26 or 28, where he tells Bhishma to go and look, to look, open his eyes and look at the sky and see, oh, look, Bhishma, he says, the sun has now moved north. So that can only happen on the 4th day, not before and not after. That particular thing, that is on that 4th day. So it is not on the 1st day post winter solstice. So that is highly important. This single observation can fix the Mahabharata, year of the Mahabharata war. So let me try and show where that is happening. If I can get, yeah. So there is another verse, which is a brilliant verse, which is in the Gita Press edition, it gives this verse, Shukla Pakshasya Chashtamya Maghamasasya Parthiva Prajapatye cha nakshatre madhyam prapte divakare. This is a difficult condition. Chapter 47, Shukla Paksha, Ashtami, Maghamas, Prajapatye cha nakshatre, Rohini nakshatra, madhyam prapte divakare, at noon, Bhishma moksha must occur. And I am adding the additional condition that it must occur on the 4th day post winter solstice in that year. So whichever year the Mahabharata occurs in, the next year, from our Julian Gregorian calendar point of view, from our perspective, that next year, in that time, the 4th day after winter solstice has got to be a Rohini Nakshatra, has got to be Maghamasa, has got to be Ashtami Tithi, has got to be Shukla Paksha, and it has to be midday. Imagine, how difficult is this criteria? Ajay, you want to comment? Can you imagine how difficult that criteria is? I mean, it's an impossibility. It's an impossibility. I know, because I've checked it for years and years, for 50 years, 60 years on either side of every date.
Just now I'm realizing how difficult it must have been to actually get that date. 30.
I cannot claim credit. I cannot claim credit for getting the date itself, because that is Srinivas Raghavan. I don't know how he got it.
Right.
I really don't know.
Okay.
But the theory is that Srinivas Raghavan was one of the descendants of Nammalwar. One of the descendants. And in his family it came that this date was 3067 BC. Did you know that?
No, that's news to me, because
right.
How isn't that contradictory? Because 3102 BC में नमलवार जी ने कृष्णा जी का
नहीं है, वही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ आपको. Because Nammalwar is born, do you know? I'll tell you another tidbit. Nammalwar is born, the great saint Nammalwar is on the 43rd day after Krishna has left the earth. Right? After 43rd day, and that day has got certain astronomy parameters which are there in my other workshops. All that is satisfied in 3067 BC. If you take 3067 BC to the year of the war, 3031, 3030, and you can find Nammalwar's birth there. Perfect. Anyway, in any case, it is a 3K date. By whichever parameter you take it, it is never going to be 5K or 4K or any other date. It is a 3K date. That is, I think we have to understand that it is a 3K date. Madhavacharya himself has said that he came X number of years before, and that it comes to, translated, I think comes to 4,300 years, which is 3063 BCE. So, in his earlier incarnation as Bhimsen. So I think this is a very important thing. I mean, and there are a huge number of other things in the Bhishma Moksha that you cannot cross 58 nights from the fall of Bhishma to his moksha. And that is this verse. Let me just come over here. अष्टपञ्चाशतं रात्र्यः शयनास्याद्यमे गतः शरेषु निशिताग्रेषु यथा वर्ष शतं ततः. So I have been lying on the so he says I have spent 58 sleepless nights. First part of the verse. And second part of the verse, that lying on the bed of arrows, it seems as if centuries have passed. People have taken both these two verses together to mean that the first part of the verse means that he's lying on the bed of arrows for 58 nights. It's not true. Now, I want to ask you a question, all of you. What is the difference between Bhishma and Yudhishthira? Who is Bhishma? Is he king?
No.
Right. He's battle commander.
Yes.
Right. Who is Yudhishthir?
He's the king.
Exactly. Or a crown prince. Right?
Crown prince, yeah.
Right. Where is Duryodhan? Duryodhan is not there specifically. But where is Bhishma, the battle commander? If you ever went to world wars, the description of world wars and things like that, the battle commander is always on the battlefield. And he comes on the battlefield before the battle starts. Bhishma has come to the battlefield before the battle has started. And he has come there to do the Bharani Homa, which is a customary thing. And if you look at our start date of the war, Mrigashira Nakshatra, and just 2-3 days before that is that Bharani Homa. And that is that 58 nights. 58 sleepless nights I have spent on the battlefield. Because he's sleepless. Why? Because he knows what the hell is going to happen. So he's sleepless from before itself, and then he's sleepless anyway till his death, right? Because he knows what is going to happen when the battle is going to start. And Shareshu Nishitagreshu, the question people don't ask is, if he is so clear that he is able to deliver the Vishnu Sahasranam, why is he saying Shareshu Nishitagreshu Yatha Varsha Shatam Tataha? Why is he saying I have spent so many nights on that? The arrows are hurting me. Basically, that's what he's saying. So how is he saying that? Why? Because at Uttarayana, the boon which is given to him by Sri Krishna has expired. The Vardhan which has been given by Sri Krishna has expired at the time of Uttarayana. Right? And Uttarayana, so that particular winter solstice is the time it has expired. And so now for that 3 nights, now he's in pain like anything. And he wants to exit. Does it make sense what I'm saying over here? Because you say over here, they went back to Kurukshetra to visit Bhishma. They say, I've been lying on the battlefield for 8 and 58 nights. Anyway, there are other things also, I mean, there's Shesha Alpadinanam cha Dakshinayane Bhaskare Avritte Bhagavate Arke Gantasi Paramam Gatim. So only few days remain for Uttarayana and for you to enter the highest end moksha. So it's never going to be 100 nights and 98 nights and all that. There is a clear-cut verse there. That verse is very, very clear. Okay, I better stop that. And any other questions? Yeah. So Vaishnava tradition of Namalwar. Who is that? Who belongs to that tradition?
This is me. So Subbu Subramanian.
Well, my Koti pranams to you, sir. My Koti pranams. What a pleasure to have met you through this thing, and what a great saint he was. What an amazing saint he was. They say that you could find out where he's sitting because there's a light emanating from there. Huh? Am I correct? Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Went to his temple like that. It's like under a tamarind tree, and
Yes, exactly,
he
exactly,
was like,
exactly. And this is
Oh,
India, this is India. The whole of India is full of saints and things like that. And we are, of course, all such fools. हम लोग कुछ आता ही नहीं है ऐसे कभी कभी I really feel that we know so little we know about our heritage, and these are the great saints, the Namalvars, the Madhavacharyas. This is India, right? And unfortunately this India is going in the direction of something else completely different now. And very frugal living. When you look at their living, the environmental impact of their footprint is so low, is so less. Anyway, my pleasure, Subhuji. I'm grateful that I
like,
actually managed to, um, um, meet somebody like this through my workshop. So obviously, my workshop is having some good effect on me. Some good karmas are coming, coming. That I'm able to meet people like this. Fantastic. And
okay. So
Jyotish
if
or
we have
Muhammad,
any more questions.
yeah, any other questions if anybody has? Swapna ji, if we are doing Homa that gives benefits to the family, I personally thinks I look. I mean, nowadays I'm getting older and I'm getting lazier with these things, and more and more laid back and more and more laid back. And but I'll tell you, it does have an effect. It has quite an amazing effect. Like I've said, my father, I've seen it in other close relatives. My own experiences, I will prefer not to describe, but it's a absolutely fantastic practice. The only thing is, it has to be done properly. It has to be done for a bit of period of time, and you know. I mean, I started off advising people to do japa, and then people used to come to me and say they've slept by the second mala, they are already asleep, because it relaxes them. You see, the japa, it's a mantra of dhwani is there, it is relaxing them. But the thing is, your body is composed of uh, various different things, and there is an ethereal body which a component to that body. So there's a physical element and there is a not so physical element, a drishya, a component to your body, and the mantras are basically you form a mantra body. The mantra body, once you form, then you start to blossom. That takes time. Takes time. Unfortunately, everything in life takes time. I was also not like this, say 10, 15 years ago. And it happens. We all have to learn. We all learn. Some learn easily, some learn not so easily, So, but we have to keep a spirit of humility and learn slowly and steadily. We have to learn. And I personally don't. I think people who discourage people like women, that women can't do Homa and all that, I think that's all nonsense. The other advantage of doing Homa, which a lot of people have come to me later, after like 10 and 20 years, about 10, 12 years later, they have said that the Homa practice becomes unconscious after a while. When the Homa practice becomes unconscious, not referring to any book, manual, nothing, just in your mind, you're starting to do it, put, 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 put. And after that, they start doing, for example, japa practice of 40 days or 41 days. They're doing the Homa anyway, but the Homa may be shorter. And then on the 41st day, they start doing the 1/10th Homa and all that. So that becomes very easy. The whole practice, whatever your spirituality is, starts becoming a very different thing, becomes easier. No, Subhuji, please do. And but the Vishnu Sahasranam, and or if you're a Shaivite, then you know there are so many beautiful Shiva stotras. There are Shiva mantras. Simple Panchakshari. I tell people all the while, the long, complicated mantras, please avoid. Go for the simple things, simple Shiva mantra. It's brilliant. Your whole life will be simplified. People in pain, Hanumanji, Shivji. You're in pain, you go to Shiva. Because Shiva is already renounced, he's already sitting somewhere completely away from everything. Nice, you will get a nice feeling. Yeah, now I am also Nivrukta. Right? Anyway, pranam to everybody. I hope any other questions. Anyway, Bhargaviji, thank you very much. And I'll get emails anyway. So, then we can, if anybody, any of you have questions or some other problems,
So-
or more than welcome.
If there are no questions, so I have a small request for
Yes,
our
yes, yeah.
handle.
Yeah.
I just want to take a screenshot of this meeting. So if everybody is comfortable only, if you could switch on your cameras for just a moment so that I could just get one snap so that I can post it. I mean, there's no force, but it would be good if you could do that. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just click it in 3, 2, 1. Say cheese, everybody. Okay.
So, Ram
I've
Raksha
got the
Stotra,
image, but
Aditya Hridaya, all those are very, very good for doing Homa and all that. You can see even Ram Raksha Stotra, even Japa of that is very powerful. It's very powerful, especially on empty stomach if one is doing. So all these things have got terrific power. Ramani ji, any questions? If anybody has any question. हाँ, Ramani ji, namaste. Namaste ji. Namaste.
Namaste ji. Namaste ji. Namaste.
If anybody has any questions, please, otherwise I will then take your leave and we can do this again
we'll call
at
it
some
a day.
stage.
We should.
I don't know what
We
Ajay
could
thinks.
pick a new topic, कुछ
Yeah.
और extensive. Yeah, we should. I was just suggesting that हमें कुछ नया जो we should delve deeper into the literature of Mahabharata next time.
Yeah.
When
I
we
mean,
do
give
it. So we
me
could
give
do
me a
some
topic.
introductory round of reading all of.
You give me a topic,
Right.
I will speak on it because it will take me a bit of time to go through the literature on the epic and all that again. Yeah. And then I'm happy doing that
So-
because that is it gives quite a lot of it's good fun actually. For me it's just it becomes a nice
Yes.
exercise.
So we should all I will get back to you, sir. Let me just think about what we can work out on,
Sure.
and then we can have an elaborate, more in-depth session on Mahabharata.
I'm
So
more
with that,
comfortable talking
I-
on science than talking on anything else nowadays because science is
see.
easier to explain. It is much easier to explain than abstract abstract concepts are not so easy to explain. Scientifically, if you can prove something, then
Yes.
then it's just so easy, that look, here it is and there, that's it.
Yes.
Abstract means, well,
Yes.
you have to go into the background of the matter. What is the background of the person? What was their upbringing? What do they think? What do they think about a practice? Hundreds of other things are there, and then after that you will come to whether, well, then belief comes into it, shraddha, and there is a dha in the shraddha.
It gets a little.
Everyone has to be on the same page to talk about abstract nature of things.
Absolutely, Vikrantji.
Yes.
Vikrantji, were you doing? Is that the Mahamrityunjaya one or not? Different one.
Yes.
Pranam. I am so happy that you benefited from that. Even one person describes that experience like that. I'm out of the world. I'm just smile on my face, Vikrantji.
Thank you, sir.
No, absolutely. These are the stories which make you realize that, yeah, I mean, I have seen it for years and years, but when people describe it and say that something great, impossible happened, and the other person is, of course, Lakshmi Shesha Iyer and few other people who are, Rudra also, hundreds of people they have been helping, and everybody says that these sort of experiences are normal, are pretty much, it does happen. Um, there are some things when it reacts badly, and I'll just quickly relate one particular instance like that, which happened to one of my good friends in America. And they had a very odd thing which happened every time Mahaganapati Homa was done. He used to do it, and even if a pujari came and did it, actually it was like a fight would break out in the house. Massive arguments. Baapre. First time it happened, he thought it was a coincidence. Second time, third time. Then one day, what happened is he was talking to his somebody, Ajji or grandmother or something. And she said, do you know that there was a Karni Badha which was done on the entire family, and 3 people of the family had died decades ago. And that Karni Badha was so powerful. I don't know whether you know Karni Badha, but it's one of the most dangerous black magic rituals, they say, which used to be done in the old days. And 3 members of his family had died. And apparently some other tantrika had to be called, and that person had bound this Karni. And he had said one thing. He had said that sometimes when the homa or something will be done in your house, this thing, it will make a noise. And that was what it was, apparently. I mean, that was his grandmother gave that explanation, that this is what is occurring, because that thing is that person said that it's such a powerful thing, you cannot get rid of it. But he had bound it, but he had said that it will, because it's bound and it is in the place and it has to endure all whatever you're doing. So these things are very interesting anyway. About teaching astrology, you should go to Jyotish Katti, go to Narasimha Rao if you can, and see he's got a lot of stuff there on his website and all. He's been teaching for free for years. Pandit Katti is also there, again, teaching for years. Those are the people. I mean, I don't have the patience to teach anybody Jyotish and all that. I mean, now I really can't be bothered. I barely look at charts now. So, and thank you everybody for that session. Chakravyuha, I will explain some other time. I think that will be a long thing.
So Pandit,
yes.
Thank you for that rather elaborate introduction to the timeline of Mahabharata and the events therein. And thank you all the participants for actually being, surprising that people are interested to an extent that they can spend hours and hours together to just listen to, intellectual dissection to that level. It's amazing. I've never come across such a, focused group in my life ever, because I study in an IIT and I'm supposed to be with such kind of people, but I've never seen people who are focused to this level. एक घंटा तक maximum होता है, but this is amazing today what happened.
So it's very useful, by the way. All these procedures, whichever sadhana you do, homa is very useful, but the sitting and remaining still gives you advantage on advantage over your peers, over everybody else you cannot imagine. Once you are able to cross that 40-minute, 1 hour barrier and you're actually able to concentrate, your concentration becomes so powerful, it's almost like a laser. You'll find it yourself. I'm not saying something out of the ordinary. And the old people, now I remember in medical school, we used to have few people like that. In old IITs, we used to have some professors like that, who you were amazed how they would ever be able to come out with something like that, whatever they were coming out with. Those thoughts, their laser focus almost. Yeah. Do you agree, Ajay ji?
100%. Yes, I do. I agree.
Shivanshi.
Yes, 100% agreed. Fully agree, sir.
You have seen some of the things already, and keep going. Keep going. Keep studying Mahabharata. Keep studying the astronomy. Get this to be pit pat. Get it to be pit pat. It should be like the verses should be known. It should be in your head. You should be able to. It should be on your tongue. You should be able to just say it, patak, wherever it is. And then all these sequences should be in your head. This is in your head, right? You have to think of this day and night. Then you get it within you. Now, when you get it within you, then you're able to dissect it out. Otherwise, it's like any other scientific thing, any other like mathematics, medicine, whatever it is. You have to first know everything. You have to know the bulk of that, whatever it is, almost by heart. Then you have to get it in, start thinking about it. Manan Chintan, what they call, no? Then you have to dissect it. You dissect it one by one. You dissect. Then you'll come to it. Exactly what you, IIT, what you're doing, same thing. This is nothing it's not as difficult as people make it out to be, but it has to be taught in a particular fashion that people realize what is what. That's about
From
it.
what limited experience that I have, with respect to reading scriptures, is that most of the people, they do not know Sanskrit these days. And second thing is, if we read it, we don't read it as history or or an academic discipline. We read it, I don't know for what reason. We read it
Right.
ऐसे ही
Right.
मनमानी करने के लिए
Right.
पढ़ते हैं, पता नहीं किसके लिए पढ़ते हैं, but
Right.
if we actually read it and pursue it as a discipline, then it becomes a lot, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. No, you are there, Ajay, Shivansh, and so many other people. You collaborate. Look, I'm a mamuli sa person. I am a nobody actually. Okay, but what I'm trying to do over here is I'm just the spark. Okay, I'm giving a spark to so many people, whoever I can, and those people will take it forward. It's not mine. I mean, we are nobodies. I tell you. This is about India. This is about the world. This is about world history. This is about how you're going to, because this is a scientific advance. You're proving basically that astronomy wise, you are fitting it to this date. Okay. At the very least, you're saying 3K date, but very specifically, you're saying 3067 BC. That helps Indians no end to have its beings in black and white. You can say it, that this is like this. To the Namalwar Sampradaya, it is very useful. To Madhavacharya Sampradaya, it is very useful. Scientific corroboration of evidence which is present in the Puranas. All these other things are just meant for, personal, whatever your advantages. Those are all minor things, very minor things. These are really important that you further science. This is because this has to enter scientific discourse in India. And where it will enter, unless you're able to show it scientifically. That's why the idea of telescopes. Now you have put that's a chink in the armor of anybody who ever says now, they have to say, oh, no, but yeah, telescopes, yeah, definitely possible. Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah, please go on. Sorry.
That's it from my side, sir. So I'm very happy that I could get an opportunity to moderate this session today. So.
No, you've got, I mean, now you have, you will find when you go through the book or whatever it is, you'll find that you're able to just learn it. Thanks to Shruti ji, and there are a lot of people over here who are thanking us. Thanks to Mamta Shanbag ji, everybody. I mean, whoever is here, thank you very much for all your good wishes, and Gunjan ji also, thank you very much. I mean, please contact me afterwards. I think some of you are on Facebook and some of you are on whatever, Twitter. Please do contact. If you wish to learn it further and how you wish to learn it, because I want to create people in every house. Dr. Achar and me, 15 years we had a conversation. I was very disturbed that people like Witzel and all these people, they are propagating a wrong, false idea of history, that Aryan invasion and all that. My God, I mean, it's very nonsensical. So I wanted to have a researcher in every house. Every house will be difficult, but every town, at least, if we have, we need to have people who are actually studying this, who are actually saying, no, look, this is like this, this is like this, this is like this. Therefore, this must be like this. That's the end of it, right? So once we have that, once we have a body of people doing that, then you are going to change the narrative, which is at the moment going in the direction. It's a TikTok narrative. TikTokia narrative, I call it. So, yeah. So, I mean, this is where we have to take it. Right, guys? Thanks, Ronak ji.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.
And we hope to have such sessions again in the future.
Oh, definitely,
Thank you so
definitely.
much.
Thank you,
Definitely.
sir.
Jai Shri Ram. Thank you, ji.
Thank you. Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram.
Pranam, sir.